Hey everyone, Chris here for Real Rideshare Stories.
And once again, Dustin is driving.
Yes, this is the third video that we're doing because there is so much stuff going on in the Uber and Lyft world right now. A lot of news, especially with what was going on when we talked about this Lyft's wait and save thing, with Uber also taking away 3,700 employees and laying them off. So if you haven't checked those videos out, go back and check them out. I know we've posted a few videos today. You're probably sick of looking at our awesome and beautiful faces, but we're going to grace your presence a little bit more for today. And this is another big doozy. And this is where California is actually suing both Uber and Lyft to about the misclassification and saying that it's AB5. And they're trying to make sure that Uber and Lyft will follow suit. So it will be up to a court to decide very soon.
And this could potentially, guys, if you really think about it, it could be the tipping point where it could be the last push and potentially be the end of Uber and Lyft in one way or another. Now, I'm not going to say they're just going to disappear right off the face of the earth, but we already know they're bleeding tons of money. By all the videos you've seen us do today alone, you already know that their ridership's down 90%. I mean, Lyft's trying to throw a Hail Mary out there for wait and saves and like, woo, wait. We need some money. So we don't know what's going on. Dara's foregoing his money. He's not going to take his base pay. So I'm sure that base pay is going to get re-put to the company to try to keep them afloat. They said they had all these tens of billions of dollars, and maybe that's why these lawsuits are coming. They know they got money, and they want it.
Well, one of the big things, though, too, is this could open up the door for other states to move in and reclassify drivers as employees instead of independent contractors. And those highly blue Democratic states, and I'm not trying to get political in this, but that's where it's going, is at least starting off. So California started with AB5. New York has legislation written. It hasn't gone anywhere right now because everything going on in the world today.
I've even heard talks about Jersey too. I heard.
Yeah, well, Jersey is fined them a few months ago. What was it? $650 million.
$650 million.
Yeah. So they're no stranger to seeing these things. Then there's also other lawsuits that could change the face of Uber and Lyft that have just been announced. So like things like the Uber Eats, DoorDash, Grubhub, and Postmates class action lawsuit against them. There's also a lawsuit that they have to hear when it comes to a rape case that happened in San Francisco. There's also the Uber sick pay that they had to adjust a little bit, which we just did a video on.
In
California. A lot of lawsuits. Yeah. So there's a lot of lawsuits. Yeah, in California only. But there are a lot of lawsuits that are coming to Uber and Lyft. And this one probably has the biggest implications of them all, because this is something Uber and Lyft is trying to do to stop from happening. In fact, they pledged $30 million each to try to put a ballot initiative to be exempt from AB5 and come up with a reclassified position that's not quite independent contractor, because they know that that's not the case, to something like not employee, because if they had to pay for all the things that they had to pay for, that's probably going to bankrupt them.
Yeah, that's exactly.
So I'm going to just hit an article real quick. Let me put it up on screen. And again, Dustin, feel free to chime in at any point, but this is from NPR. So if you want to check this out, link will be in the description below. And yes, California is suing Uber and Lyft for cheating drivers and taxpayers. So the state of California is suing Uber and Lyft for classifying their drivers as contractors instead of employees. Lawsuit is the first major test of a new state law intended to give gig workers more labor protections, including access to employer-sponsored health insurance. Uber and Lyft both claim that their drivers aren't engaged in the company's core mission, therefore qualify for benefits, said Xavier Becerra, the state's attorney general, at a press conference on Tuesday. If drivers in California contract the coronavirus, or if they lose their job as a result, guess what? They're the ones that go missing. They're the ones that don't know what they'll do next. They're the ones who have to worry about how to pay their bills. Becerra,
it's exactly right, man. It's exactly right.
So Bakura said the companies are also harming taxpayers by classifying as contractors rather than employees. Companies do not pay hundreds of millions of dollars in social safety net obligations or state payroll taxes, he said. And yes, I've said that AB5 is not really in the best interest of the drivers. And I still continue to say that and still continue to think that. I think that AB5
And I agree with you.
and
I
has been a
definitely
money
agree
grab.
with you.
Yeah, because they're expected to get billions of dollars in payroll taxes and
And
stuff.
who's getting that? It's not going to be the drivers. It's the state.
Mm-hmm. And they're hiding behind saying things like, trying to get benefits and things like that. And because of the whole thing with COVID-19, now you see the whole thing is they're talking about, where was it? Right here, including access to employer-sponsored health insurance. So that is what they're trying to focus on right now when it comes down to it. And some employees out there who only hire part-time workers don't necessarily have to pay out health insurance. So that could be something that Uber and Lyft can exercise as well too. So there are things that they can use to get around certain obligations that, guess what? The state's not going to care because they're getting their state payroll tax money still. So it could be an issue.
This could definitely be a detrimental blow if somehow this does go through and Uber and Lyft are held accountable, because that's a lot of money to be pushing out. And they're already bleeding money left and right. If the CEO is taking a cut, if Uber Eats is getting sued, they're getting screwed on all fronts.
Mm-hmm.
Something's got to give.
Yeah, and then says the state seeking penalties that it estimates could reach hundreds of millions of dollars. It also wants the companies to pay restitution to hundreds of thousands of drivers in California and back wages, back pay, and all that. So that's going to be pretty crazy.
If they actually make it so they pay the drivers. The drivers need to get paid before the state gets paid if this goes through.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's talking about the lawsuit escalates an ongoing battle of how companies in the so-called gig economy treat the workers who make their service possible. Coronavirus pandemic has put gig workers in the spotlight and exacerbated the precariousness of their jobs. Classifying drivers as contractors saves Uber and Lyft a lot of money because they do not provide benefits like health coverage to contractors. Again, they're trying to make it health coverage related, or pay into the unemployment insurance systems, which again is the big hot topic, what's going on. So it's you and I who are paying for our own unemployment insurance if you're trying to claim unemployment through the federal government, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, because Uber and Lyft is not paying into this, but we as taxpayers are paying into it, whether it's going to be done now or if it's our children or children's children who have to pay that money back.
And then didn't Uber and Lyft also ask, I think, for like a bailout as well? Like they were trying to get some money on top of this. Like they're not even paying any money to us. You know what I mean? Because the new law that went into play saying that gig workers could qualify, but it's like they're not paying it out. So why would they be trying to get a handout as well?
Yeah, they got some sort of bailout, but they got a major bailout when it comes to not having to pay unemployment, and yet thousands upon thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe even million drivers who are going on unemployment. So they're not paying for that. They never put any money into it. So they got a bailout by that. And yes, that helps drivers out a lot. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of drivers out there who can't drive, not because they don't want to, but because there's no rides out there or very few coming in. So if the whole spring dried up, you're not going to get any water out of it. And so I do appreciate the fact that this stimulus package does include gig workers. But again, Uber and Lyft aren't paying a single penny for it. So they got a huge bailout option on that one.
Yeah, you're right. They sure did. But hopefully does this in here at all say when this is going to go down? Like they said they're getting sued, but is there like an actual date or anything? So when we know when we might actually hear the outcome of this to see what happens?
I haven't seen anything come out yet because it's still such a new evolving thing.
I'm sure they're probably they're going to do arbitration or something.
I don't know if they're going to go there. It's something like this is probably going to be heard in the court system, and this will have an implication on how they classify drivers. So if the court says, hey, guess what? you're not an independent contractor, you're an employee, then that means a lot of drivers will be becoming employees. So it'll be pretty interesting to see. But yeah, it says the law represents a significant threat to the app's business models. Uber and Lyft have argued it doesn't apply to them. Along with food delivery app DoorDash, companies pledged to spend $90 million on a ballot initiative to seek to overturn AB5.
It's nice to know they still got all this money to pay out to this.
Well, this is money that they put in advance of the whole pandemic coming out. So this went in a little while. Yeah, 30 million each.
Just money. Just a freaking waste, man.
Well,
treat your drivers and dashers and everybody else better, and you wouldn't have to worry about this.
Exactly. And that's the biggest problem right there, is that they're trying to fight this completely. But one of the craziest things, though, that comes out of this whole thing is that Uber's CEO, Dara, said that he wants, in a letter to Trump before that whole stimulus package went through, that he wants to take a lead on what is going on when it comes to classifying drivers, because they're not really employees, but they're not really independent contractors. And I agree with that statement where they're neither of both, but you and I both had a conversation about 2 weeks ago or so on if drivers are truly independent contractors or employees. And we both said they're more on the employee side because Uber and Lyft have so much power over how and what a driver can do. In fact,
they control all the important aspects about being an independent contractor. They almost like tie in our hands. The only thing we can decide is if we want to actually drive or not for them.
Exactly. And not only on top of that, but they also are implementing a new rule where drivers have to wear face masks when it comes to being on the Uber platform, where they're saying they're going to invent a technology to verify that drivers are wearing their face masks, which I think they already have the technology. I think they're just going to pretty much use the phone and then have some sort of facial recognition thing that's realizing if a driver is wearing a face mask or not. But
and I wonder how many times that's going to screw drivers over, because we already know the normal face recognition can screw up and mess up, and all of a sudden you'll be deactivated until the response team could finally, do an investigation to find out if you were doing something fraudulent or their technology just screwed up.
But not only that, a lot of I've heard some press stories that are coming out that say people are passing out because of wearing masks, because it's going to limit how much airflow is coming in. You're not getting the full effect.
Definitely a safety issue. We've had a couple accidents here in Jersey, actually, and they even made it on the news because people were driving around by themselves, mind you, not even with passengers. So before all this is even in play, and people are crashing and, having accidents when they shouldn't be.
So that's going to be a real safety concern, because I don't know about you, but when I put a mask on, or if I put a mask on, it cuts down the amount of oxygen, and it's harder to breathe. So, if you're not used to that, or if you're not medically able to wear a mask or anything like that, then that's going to cause a real problem. But again, that's something that Uber is forcing drivers to do.
Yeah, it's not an option. They're going to put it into the policy. It's going to be new policy. It was actually decided last week. It was decided and should be put into play and rolling out nationwide soon.
Yeah, over the next few weeks. And again, that brings up, if you're really an independent contractor, that type of behavior is not allowed when you're really a independent contractor, because you're able to control all these aspects, not them control you.
It's supposed to be your car, but now when you're telling you have to wear a mask in your car, yes, boss. That's what it sounds like to me. Yes, boss.
Exactly. And so just wrapping up, I know this is going to be an ongoing thing when it comes to the court, and I'm sure we'll probably talk about this again over and over again because, they haven't really said anything yet. I'm looking through the article right now. They're just saying they're looking forward to working with the Attorney General and mayors across the state to bring all the benefits of California's innovation economy to as many workers as possible, especially during the time when the creation of good jobs with access to affordable healthcare and other benefits is more important than ever. So it's going to be pretty interesting how things are going to play out. Now, I'm going to wrap up with my final thoughts. Then Dustin, wrap up with yours, and you could also sign off as well. But with my final thoughts on this is, again, I don't like the employee model. I don't like that at all. I want to have more control, but I also want more control than what Uber and Lyft are offering when it comes down to it. Now, Uber has made several changes in California already that they have not given to the rest of the country or even world, which kind of goes to show you they're trying to do everything they can when it comes to curtailing. So even they see that if they would have kept the systems in place that they originally had, that the rest of the country has, that they would definitely not pass the ABC test when it comes to AB5. And I think that's going to show you that, yeah, drivers are more considered employees when it comes down to it. Although I do want to see a third classification system that gives drivers still an independent contractor status with an employee protection, where it's this whole new mesh of things. And I think that's going to be the best way for drivers. And whatever is going to benefit the most drivers is going to be what I think is the best. I don't think independent contractor status is what we're getting unless they overhaul their entire system. Then that would be better for drivers overall, because they would be able to afford things like healthcare and things where what independent contractors are like. Definitely not employees, because it's not there. So something has to be in the middle of that. And going back to Dara's letter, you know, you're sitting back and not doing a damn thing, Dara. This is directly to you. So if you want to lead, get out there and start leading, create something, come up with plans and ideas instead of sitting on your ass in your bunker, not doing a damn thing, waiting this thing out and waiting for somebody else to come up and you just signing on with it. No, be an innovator, be a leader, or you know what, better yet, Zoom conference with me, Dustin, and a few other drivers out there, and let's actually sit down, talk, and see what would be better for drivers, for Uber and Lyft, and where it'll appease the states also.
Woo! Well, I think that just about says it all right there, because I'm in total agree with everything you said. You said it perfectly. Let's just leave it just like that. But yeah, guys, we definitely need to see that third classification, hands down, without a doubt. And hopefully soon we're going to find out where this all takes us. When we know more information, we will definitely update you guys as we get it. Until then, it's just a wait and save, a wait and save kind of a moment. We will savor the flavor of whatever happens. Victory, loss.
You could do independent contractor on or employee.
Yep, that's right. So as always, guys, check the description below for extra information and tips. As always, hit that subscribe button and click that little bell icon. That way you get notified when we come out with new videos. Please be safe. Have backup plans to your backup plans. And until next time, guys, be an independent contractor or no. Peace out.